They're basically the same bicycle, at least functionally. Let's get into it. So I may have overstated it a little bit. Obviously these are not the same bikes. They do share a lot of functionality, and we very often do a little back-to-back comparison in the shop. So we figured, why not extend this to our viewers? First things first, they're obviously similar looking. They're both black bikes. They're both steel. But there are some pretty key differences. So to speak to the frames to start, where they're both steel, the Bridge Club here is going to be a little more of kind of a mid to premium level tube set. And the main reason is it's double butted, meaning there actually is internal tapering, so you have a thicker wall thickness at the end where you're going to be welding the tube, and it's going to be thinned out in the middle. The Muirwoods, on the other hand, is going to have just a single butting, meaning it's only on one end of the tube, which is obviously a little more cost-effective means of production, meaning the end cost is a little less. Another standout feature is going to be the fact that the Bridge Club has an ED coating. So this is an electrically charged, basically, bath, where before paint, the frame goes through this process. It's internally coating the frame. Additionally, it is acting as a primer. So it's a really great way to resist corrosion, and that's a huge concern for a lot of customers getting into steel for the first time, rust. So obviously, we have some pretty similar kind of base features, but there are a couple standouts. So probably most notably on these bikes, the drivetrains are different, but again, very similar. We both have a 1x setup. So here on the Bridge Club, we have a 1x11 Shimano Dior set, where on the Muirwoods, we have the kind of increasing in popularity Advent X from Microshift. So Microshift has been really kind of after affordable and reliable drivetrains, so choosing to go either 9 or 10 speed with their Advent and Advent X has been a really great way to get kind of newer riders into, riding kind of more rugged setups, more like kind of mountain bike drivetrains. So both of these have a bit of that mountain bike DNA, but obviously we're going to have a little more road size wheel on these. These are both using either a 700 by 41 or 42 millimeter tire. So again, kind of a wash, not massive differences. Notably, we're going to have Surly branded tires here, where we have Schwalbe branded on the other one, but effectively very similar functionality. Where these two bikes really start to differ is actually the finishing kit, and by that I mean actually the shape of the cockpit. So on paper, these look incredibly similar. These are both small frames we have in the frame beside me. You'll notice a little longer stem and the Surly terminal bar with this back sweep. It kind of sweeps forward and back to not make the reach excessively long. Where if you look at the Muirwoods on the top, it's going to have a much shorter, more like a mountain bike cockpit. We have that really short stem and that wide flat bar. So it's going to still have like a little more twitchy kind of feel. Maybe the Bridge Club arguably is a little more classic in its handling if we're looking at like traditions of touring bikes and maybe older mountain bikes, where the Muirwoods would be leaning to a little more modern style. As far as cargo, both these bikes are equipped with loads of eyelets. So there's fork eyelets all over this thing. You can have the inner and outer mid eyelet, additional adventure packs. You have 3-pack mounts on the side. This is obviously the same spacing as you're gonna have a bottle cage, so you can add additional hydration here. And then typical with Surly, they have a few extra on the front and the top here at the fork crown for some of their proprietary racks. The Muirwoods, on the other hand, keeps it a little simpler. They do have still that kind of just simple water bottle mount. This could be used for a rack mount as well if you need it, but a little simpler, and this still serves a lot of the same purpose. Both these bikes obviously have a little generous tire clearance with around a 40 millimeter tire stock. So you can clearly fit fenders. One of the challenges we see with these bikes often is because they have so much clearance, often the fenders will sit up a little high. So if you're looking for like a classic fender line, this might go and require a little bit of customization to make it look really perfect. All right, so we're gonna get into the weeds a little bit here. So we're gonna start from the front and move our way back. Wheel interfaces. So a lot of modern bikes you're gonna see through axles, both of these bikes, both the Marin Muirwoods and the Surly Bridge Club, are going to be using quick release wheels. So disc brakes, quick release wheels, that's the same. Couple extra mounts on the forks, more on the Surly, a few less on the Marin. Moving to the headset here, we have what we call an EC34 or an external cut, pretty what I would call a standard 1/1/8 head tube setup. So this is Cane Creek 40, great part. Marin uses this integrated system, looks a little different, does the same function. You'll even notice in the frame construction, these use gussets. So these gussets are a nice little reinforcement in the frame that adds strength. This one up here has only the bottom gusset on the Muirwoods. The Surly here goes a little more overbuilt, kind of old school mountain bike style. We're gonna have a top gusset here, and then down on the bottom, another reinforcing gusset on the down tube. Moving on again, you're gonna see a few more eyelets on the Surly over the Muirwoods. Component choice is a little different here as well, where we're gonna see again, mentioning that Dior versus this kind of no-name brand crankset. We're gonna see a straight kind of normal square taper bottom bracket, where we're gonna have the more modern equivalent, a Hollowtech 2 or lighter weight system. You can see right through the bottom bracket here, so instead of that solid steel spindle, you have a nice hollow lighter weight system. So obviously a little bonus points there. Worth noting, the frames function the same way, the threadings are the same. The parts are virtually cross-compatible almost entirely. So it really just depends on kind of what is being built out. Looking a little closer at the Muirwoods even, you're gonna see the rear stay is actually a flat plate to gain a little extra clearance, where the Bridge Club has a little more consistent traditional tubing. And then finally moving on to that rear dropout on the Bridge Club, it's gonna be a little beefier. So if you're really looking for something that's a little more robust, a little tougher, favor is leaning towards the Bridge Club. So what do we learn from all this? Probably my biggest takeaway, and the way I like to look at a lot of modern bikes, is like a Venn diagram. I look at kind of what crosses over and what's similar. And with these two bikes, I see more crossover than difference. Obviously they are different. They're very different build kits, but the function is very on par and very similar. So I think the Bridge Club is probably one of our customers' favorites. We get probably asked about it the most out of any of Surly bikes, period. But the Muirwoods is a really great cost-effective alternative if maybe cash is a little tight, or you want to save a few bucks. Maybe you want to save a little money for customizing your own. As much as we can research online and kind of tell you as much as we can, the ride quality of steel is sometimes very hard to like convey in words. So my best recommendation is come test ride it. You should try for yourself, see if you like the fit, the feel, the finish, the components. They really are very similar, but I think they're both pretty unique bikes, even though they might seem the same on the surface. Yeah, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe to our channel and let us know what else you'd like to see.
More bike comparisons?
What bikes would you like us to compare next?